He's certainly a method actor who takes it to the extreme and delivers.
The scene where he puts the knife to my throat. Okay, we do the rehearsal and the knife never touches my skin. But of course, when Mark Rydell says action, he puts the knife so deep into my neck that even a little blood comes out. I mean, he was that intense.
From the Cowboys, it's A. Martinez and Robert Carradine. Hi, guys. Cimarron.
Hello,
and
Rob.
Slim. I have Steve Hudis and Al Barker. Right here. We have Steve Benedict and Sean Kelly here. Stuttering Bob and Steve with us today. And Nicolas Beauvy, who was Four Eye. They're right here. Hi, I'm Rob Ward, and we are keeping the excitement in Westerns because I love them, and obviously you do too, or you wouldn't be watching this great show, A Word on Westerns. We are discussing one of the classic Westerns that John Wayne made, The Cowboys. And you think, hasn't he already interviewed the Cowboys already? There's more of them, and I've got two of the best Wrangler actors. They are here. Bobby Carradine, who was Slim, and Nicolas Beauvy, who was Four Eyes. They're right here. Thank you, guys. This is a thrill for me. I love the film. Each time I watch it, it seems to get better. The torture that you go through, you have my empathy with Bruce Dern trying to drown you and being so mean. Were you surprised at the intensity of his performance?
Yeah. I would say surprise is a good word. We rehearsed a little bit, but he just took it to the next level, and even then some. He was very into his role.
Did you know that he was going to put your head in the water?
Well, yeah, they told me. Now, interesting about that, it was half scripted and half not.
See, that's what I've been telling people for years, is that you were kind of kept in the dark.
Well, yes and no. I mean, they told me, first of all, they put a bodysuit on me. So I didn't have like a wetsuit that a surfer would have, a nice thin one. I had a thick, 1-inch, flesh-colored bodysuit on me because that water was ice cold. So when Bruce Dern started dunking me, and I didn't think he was going to do it with the force that he did. I mean, he like I said, he just took it over the top. So when he started dunking me, it was choking me, the wetsuit underneath. And that combination of Dern's insaneness and the wetsuit and everything, I was just like petrified. So, but amazing in that scene.
It really worked.
But what is amazing in that scene is my glasses fell off, if you notice in that scene.
Yeah.
And I had the wherewithal or the luck to just catch those glasses, or else they would have gone down the river.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, were you gasping for breath?
Gasping for breath. Gasping for breath. Terrified. And when he throws me against the embankment, well, it was not hard to be convinced. I mean, I was scared. I was a 13-year-old kid, and I was scared.
I hate to call it a highlight of the movie, but it is. Both of you together, he's certainly a method actor who takes it to the extreme and delivers, no matter if it's a comedy or an intense villain like this.
Well, also the scene where just before that he puts the knife to my throat. Okay, we do the rehearsal and the knife never touches my skin. But of course, when Mark Rydell says action, he puts the knife so deep into my neck that even a little blood comes out. I mean, he was that intense. So.
And then the scene when he has the final confrontation with Duke, and he calls you over because you've helped him out. You haven't told anybody anything, and he takes those glasses from you. That is an amazing scene, too. You look scared in that.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Good job.
Well, I don't know what he's going to do to me, He might start beating me up some more. I don't know.
I understand you still have those glasses.
I do, and I try to find them, and then, like everything, that you pile up and keep. I just couldn't find them, but I'm going to keep searching for them.
Yeah. Bobby, you were there when all this was going on, and the end scene where he's taking the glasses from him, not the drowning, because nobody was allowed to be there except the immediate crew,
it had nothing to do with us. It was all Nick and Bruce.
I don't think anybody else.
But at the end, where Bruce is intimidating you, he puts your glasses on for a great look too. Right. You guys were all there for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when he wadded up those glasses, I was like, "Is that scripted?" I mean, because he destroyed them.
And then he put them on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Carpet beggars call me Mister. That's one of Bruce's lines.
Yeah, it's good. Can you do a Bruce Dern imitation?
I'm gonna sneak up
finger.
to you.
He loved to point the finger. The finger was key.
I sneak up to you, tiptoe.
But those eyes, the eyes are like tiptoe.
Oh man. Yeah. So, John Wayne, everybody who's been up here has talked about what a wonderful father figure he was, and because the film was shot in sequence, that toward the end, you all are bonding with him more like a real father, and so his death must have been crushing.
Yeah, we were, like all the kids up here said, it was a very easy scene to get emotional and to be really sad. John Wayne was a presence, like his son said, and we all felt it. He was just bigger than life. And he was kind of a father figure to us, obviously in the movie, but also off the set, because my father was back in LA and I was with my mom, and he was just someone who we looked up to and respected. And, I had some scenes with him, and he was always very, very gracious with me. The scene I remember so much is when we buried Charlie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a beautiful scene. Very powerful.
Very powerful
You were
scene.
quite good in that scene.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
You
much.
were.
Yeah, no, I really, Mark said you must come up with tears. And I was like, geez, how am I going to come up with tears? This is brutal. And so I really thought about things in my life to be sad, and I did get the tears going. And, John Wayne puts his hand on my shoulder.
Oh, I know, it's a powerful moment.
Yeah, and I look up, and I think he got startled to see me crying, and I think that got a reaction out of him, and how actors play off each other. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was very
it's really
memorable scene.
You're talking about the scene where he's dying and he's saying his final words to us. He really, every take, he delivered the goods on that. Oof. And it was, it cut like a knife. I mean, it was very, very effective what he did for us off camera. He was incredible.
Yeah.
You worked previously on several other shows. You were young Doug McClure, young Trampas on a Virginian,
right, as
well. What was that like on the Virginian?
Oh, geez, don't ask me that. I don't even remember so much about the Virginian. It was fun. I mean, doing westerns. I got cast in a lot of westerns, or western style movies. So I just loved Bonanza. I did. And I did actually a couple Virginians. Doug McClure was great.
Yeah. Well, you didn't see him in one because you were young, Doug, but in the other one, he is the main lead in that episode with you.
Right.
Yeah. Did you learn to ride with the rest of the guys, or did you ride before?
No, that was part of the casting, is that we had to learn how to ride. And like everybody said, we were at the stables there in Burbank, and Red Burns, and I remember very funny, A. Martinez.
Okay.
A. Martinez, like Steve had said, that we rode so much that our butts hurt. But A. Martinez stuffed a pillow in his pants. He came to one of the sessions with a pillow in his pants, which was hysterical, so that he could have a little cushion on the saddle.
And did they catch him and make him take it out?
I think they did. I think they made him take it out. I think Mark was not happy that he did that. But
also the instructor, Red Burns, one of the other guys up here mentioned his cigar, and I remember when we first started out, I kept offering him a light, And he'd go, no, that's fine, that's fine. But as the day wore on, the cigar got shorter and shorter. And I finally figured out he was eating them.
Yeah. That was his chewing. That was his chewing tobacco.
Yeah, I mean, chewing tobacco wasn't strong enough. He had to eat cigars.
Delicious. So you didn't pick up that habit from him?
Not chewing cigars, no. Yeah. But, you know, when we were on location, the bunkhouse scene, one of the Wrangler kids turned me on to Red Man chewing tobacco. And he left out the part that you don't swallow it. I was sicker than a dog.
Your doubles working on the film too, did they all stay in a separate place from the performers?
I think we're all in the same.
Yeah, we were all the same.
Digs,
We all had to go to school. You know, bank school time.
He didn't have to go to school.
You didn't have to go to school?
I had to go to school for a half day.
Because he was older.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was the older kid.
Yeah. They had us go out to the Santa Fe like a couple weeks before the actual filming started, so we could what we call bank schooling, because you had to do 3 hours a day of school, and I think we did like 9 hours a day for like 2 weeks straight.
I learned a lot that way.
So that we had school in the bank. So some days we would be on the set for like a week and didn't have to go to school. So it was great. I mean, you know, 13 years old for 3 months, 4 months, acting like a cowboy.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. So at the end with the shootout, what was that like playing cowboy, really playing cowboy?
I mean, it was so much fun. I mean, we were taking revenge and having guns and killing the bad guys, and it was just fun.
It's always good to kill the bad guys. You were in a very violent Western with Gregory Peck called Shootout that I think Henry Hathaway directed.
Henry Hathaway, absolutely.
I heard he was a screamer.
He was a tough guy. I mean, he was kind of nice with me. Maybe with kids he was okay, but that was a good experience. It was a very, very fun movie to do.
And you did a film that George C. Scott directed and starred in called Rage.
Yes.
Where you play his son.
Yeah.
And there is a disease or something that you end up dying?
Yeah, the government was testing a chemical, and the helicopter, we were camping out, and I slept outside. George C. Scott, my father, slept in a tent, and the helicopter came over us at night and accidentally still had the valve open or whatever you want to call it, and so the chemicals came on me, and when he woke up in the morning, he saw me convulsing, foam at the mouth, but I got that role because of Colleen Dewhurst. Because Colleen Dewhurst was married to George C. Scott.
Sure.
And I had a nice relationship with her on the set, and she liked me, and so she recommended me to her husband for that role.
How great is that?
Wow, that's a small world.
Small world. That's the movie business.
Oh, yeah, it really
it's
is.
who you know, and her scenes with Roscoe and with with the soiled doves, she was wonderful in that too. What a fine actress.
Elegant.
Elegant is the
Very
word.
elegant.
With John Wayne, were you a big fan of his before you were cast?
Yeah, I mean, I was. I loved Westerns. I don't know what was part of me that, connected to Westerns, but I loved watching Westerns, played cowboys and Indians when I was little, So yeah, well, an interesting story about John Wayne, when I played King Arthur in Camelot, and Alan J. Lerner was the lyricist, a Lerner in Low.
A young King Arthur.
A young King Arthur as a boy. When he thinks back in his childhood, that's me. And Michael Lerner, this is a long story, I'll make it short, but Michael Lerner, the son, the father rented the Wild Goose, and we were on John Wayne's yacht, and we went down to Mexico and back, because I was Michael's friend from school, so I was on John Wayne's yacht when I was like 10 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. The Wild Goose.
This guy, can you believe this guy? I mean, he's leaving us in the dust, man.
I had a good run, everything peaked at the Cowboys, okay? Well, I was Charlie's Angels, but...
Okay, yeah, well, that's a good peak.
That was my exit.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the Cowboys is a classic. Now, how do you think it holds up today?
I think it's one of the fantastic movies, Westerns for sure. People, when I say I'm in the Cowboys with John Wayne, people just go crazy. They think it's one of the best movies of all time. I go to Vegas sometimes in December for the National Finals Rodeo, And I love milling around with the Cowboys, going to the Cowboy Christmas. And when people find out that I was in the movie, because my wife likes to say it to people, they go crazy.
Royalty, come on.
Yeah, it's like
Yes.
it's like unbelievable. It's just so many great people were involved, and we've mentioned a lot of them. John Williams, Robert Surtees, the cinematographer, but Anthea Silbert was the costume designer. I mean, she was a heavyweight.
You know, I still got the drawing that she did of my character.
I do too.
All right. You
I
can't
do
find
too.
it, right?
I can't find the glasses. No, I have my chaps. How do you pronounce
Chaps.
it? Chaps.
Chap.
Chaps.
Yeah, chaps is like spritz.
Chaps. I have my spurs, and I have my bandana. I should have worn my bandana. I have that.
Wow, that's cool.
That is. Well, it's a wonderful movie, and I'm glad you two came to talk about it. And I watch it every year. It just keeps, if it's on TV, you have to stop for a little bit, then you get sucked into it because it's so good. You all were wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Film, and,
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
We have Steve Benedict and Sean Kelly here, Stuttering Bob and Steve with us today. And welcome, boys.
Hey, thanks for having us.
How difficult was it for you to learn to stutter like that? Or was it why you got cast in the first place?
No, I actually don't even know how I started stuttering, but it was something that when Lynn Stallmaster said, "Why don't you read for that part?" I went, sure. And that's how it happened.
Well, tell me a little bit about Lynn Stallmaster, because he was a genius in selecting the right people for the right roles and did it more than anybody else, I think.
Well, interesting story about that is at Warner Brothers, that's where obviously it was shot. In '71, they were casting. And so the casting director at the time, all of a sudden, I was seen and then no more. Well, I didn't hear any more from her or from my agent about it. I went, oh, well, that was that. And then they changed casting directors midstream, and that's when Lynn Stallmaster showed up, and I went and met him, and he was one of the most subdued, calm people I'd ever sat across, and I just went, wow. And so then he said, well, that was quite interesting. Why don't you wait outside? And then a couple hours later, Mark Rydell showed up. Mm-hmm. And that's when I got to meet Mark.
Wow.
It was awesome.
Well, in that scene where Duke is just coming down at you and coming down at you, what was going through your mind at the time when you were doing that?
6'4", 3 feet wide. 6'4", 3 feet wide. I was 4'11". I had all the gang behind all the guys, and it was very supportive. All the other actors, they were going, have a good time, And so I just remember standing there, just breathing, and then realizing, just watching Slim, and we just did that whole scene before. So. Bobby Carradine in the water. So that was sort of a natural impetus. And his presence, when he was directed at you, his focus, you felt it, so it made my focus even stronger.
I always heard he was a good reactor.
He was amazing. And then at the end of the scene, we did the run-through, and it was pretty quiet. And he looked at me and he goes, come on. And so he put his arm around him. He goes, that was really good. Let's do that again. And he goes, remember, just don't do this off the set. I went, yes, Mr. Lynch.
Well, Steve, how did you get cast?
I went to lots of interviews like everybody else. And part of kind of the interview process is we had to learn the actors, and there was like half of us were actors. We had to learn how to ride. So they sent us right here to Booth Stables, and Red Burns was the trainer. He was a tough cowboy himself. Chewed cigars, and he was a tough guy. And we had to ride 7 days a week. It wasn't like we just went for an hour lesson.
And you all showed up together.
There was more of us, actually,
6 of us.
Because they whittled people out.
So you hadn't been firmly cast yet. You didn't know.
No. So we started with a bigger group, and they started letting people go. And it got so bad because they said you can't miss a day. So it got so bad that if you've never ridden before and all of a sudden you start riding, and this is the truth, 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock,
3 hours
Monday
a
through
day.
Friday.
You're pretty sore.
And then all day long on Saturday and 5 hours on Sunday, every single day. After a while, I had to wear a diaper because my butt was truly bleeding. But I didn't want to
I don't want to
miss a
see
day.
that,
One could say they're shaps for a reason.
Wow. So then they finally said, you've got the part. What was that like?
Oh, I was ecstatic. But I actually think that I got the part because they didn't have a part for Steve. They actually wrote a part in for me so they would have an extra person in case something happened to one of the other kids. There's 10 kids in the original thing, and so they actually wrote my part in. So I felt very, very fortunate.
Yeah. Wow, how terrific. Then did you continue writing afterwards?
I still have horses to this day. I went to bull riding school, calf roping school, Gene McLaughlin.
Yeah, you did junior rodeo in Little Britches, didn't you?
Junior Rodeo Association, but I team roped and all these cowboy kids. Well, I knew Sean before the movie, and we've been friends ever since. But all the cowboy kids, I was friends with them afterwards. Norm Howe stayed at my house. He was Weedy, and Mike Pyatt and I were best friends. I roped at his arena, and we remained friends for a long time. And then, you know, you start.
Sure. Well, how did you two meet then?
We lived across, around the corner. Our mothers, I think.
Our best friends. Our mothers are best friends.
Yeah.
Because you all were younger, and obviously you had guardians, maybe your mom or
My
dad.
Mom.
Our moms. Yeah.
And so they were bonded already, and so then they just had a great time on vacation with you guys, right?
It was a vacation.
It was great.
Did they run lines with you, your moms?
Yeah, Mom would run some lines. Yep. She helped me with some stuttering thoughts, and then she was, the funny moment about that is that she was nearly cast as Steve Hudis' mother. I don't know if you knew that, but my mother's from the borders of Scotland, so she sounds like Shirley Valentine, you know? She opens her mouth and goes, nope, not out then. So she plays my mother, and she just, of course, she was really upset with me because when they were doing all the close-ups of the moms saying goodbye to the mothers and fathers saying goodbye to the children, she just let all her tears out right in the beginning, and she goes, well, you could have told me you're the professional actor here. I went, sorry, Mom. So.
Well, you could do what Martinez did, is rub grass in your eyes to make you cry.
There wasn't a lot of grass in Santa Fe.
That scene when John Wayne died, I guarantee you, nobody needed it. That was so heart-wrenching. I'll never forget that.
So what was the rehearsal like for that?
There was
scene?
no rehearsal. They just
Really?
lined it up, and when he started talking, and he felt it, because by that time, it was almost the end of the movie. We felt like we were close to him. And when he said that he really cared about us, it was, you know, it almost makes you cry now.
It was tough.
Well, the movie certainly works. So what was Bruce Dern like to you kids then?
Mean.
He's a method actor.
He was in character all the time. He was mean.
He was definitely a method guy. But the cool thing is that what was talked about earlier is that we would take the bus to the set, and here's Bruce running, and Roscoe also ran. So it was like crazy good. Yeah.
Well, at that altitude, for both of them to be running like that.
Bruce was amazing to watch, just watching. I remember watching Nick Beauvy, Four Eyes, and his scene.
Oh, the scene in the river?
Yeah, the scene in the river. No, I think they did that at night. I can't remember when they did that, but they did it and made sure it was just intense enough.
It worked. But the whole movie does, and it builds to that brutal killing of Duke. Did you all see him get squibbed to prepare for that, or did he just show up?
Duke?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we saw him. That was a tough day. It was just a tough day.
It went for a long time, though. That wasn't just a day.
That was like 3 or 4 days, I think. It was. We shot that in July. Was it June or July?
Remember, we used to actually, on the set, we used to do the same scene. Remember, all the kids used to say, all right, I've seen what you can do with a boy.
We do our takes of Bruce and Duke. Yeah, it was very funny. One day it was Steve playing, the Duke, and another day it was someone else playing Bruce. It was like, wow.
Well, you're a hard man, Mr. Anderson.
Well, when you all picked up your guns at the end of the movie for that shootout, what was that like?
Oh, that was crazy.
If you love guns, my God.
Yeah. We live in Arizona. So. I had it was called a peacemaker, a preacher's gun, and it just had a hair trigger. And I remember Buzz Henry, the second unit director, came up and he goes, "Now you be careful with that." And he told us about how to handle a weapon and how to do all that. And he made it really clear. He said, "If you boys point this gun, you're going to kill somebody," because back then a full load blank could take you down. So it was pretty intense. But that was a crazy scene. Crazy
fun.
scenes.
And then they drag Bruce out.
I think they dredged the water for a week looking for, because it was a real stream river, and they were dredging it looking to make sure so that when the stuntman did it, he didn't get popped. I mean, because they didn't want him to hit a rock. Wow. They had a release on his, I remember looking at all that going, wow, that is some technology back in 1971.
It was an A-plus movie. The budget was there. To be in a film like that.
All the scenes were incredible. The bunkhouse scene, that went forever and ever. And Roscoe was that deep voice he has. That was incredible.
What a voice, yeah.
When they were bucking the horses out there, we were out there for days. And they were actually really bucking horses. That was every single that John Wayne died. That was incredible. All these scenes they went forever. It just felt like it went for weeks and months. It was great.
Growing up.
Yeah. Well, Sean, you did some other westerns too. You did Lancer and I think a Bonanza too.
I did a lot of episodic television. I did about 4 Bonanzas, a couple of Lassies thrown in there if that counts. And and we did the series, The Cowboys, a very short run of that.
One of the Bonanzas had several of you veterans from the Cowboys.
Yeah, there was a couple of us there. Yeah, it was a.
Is that the one with Ronnie Howard?
Ron Howard, Mitch Vogel. Yep.
And what do you remember about that episode?
The show was about, I think, where we were
hazing
people. And the funny part is that what you have to do is that they had the piece of meat. They really had a real branding iron, and they'd stick it like that and put ice on the chest so your body doesn't know what you're smelling flesh. And so Mitch was being inaugurated, and Ron was going, "Should we really burn him?" I said, "Let's." So we didn't, of course.
And then you put ice on him, and somebody died. And didn't Michael Landon write and direct that episode?
Yeah, Michael did. Yeah.
What was he like as a director?
Oh, very giving, very, very sweet, very funny. He would always make a joke, and then he said, "Stay serious." Oh, yes, sir. So, yeah, he was wonderful.
The Cowboy TV series, that was sort of a reunion too, getting back together.
Yeah, there was 3 or 4 of us. It was Bobby,
and Clay
myself,
O'Brien, I think,
and Clay,
too.
right, the 4 of us.
Yeah. And then you had Ronnie's brother, Clint.
It was Clint, and then Kerry McLean, and a young guy, a new actor. We did that in West Valley.
We can't ever get a hold of those. Warner won't put them out. They say it costs too much money to transfer them from 35.
Well, I get a 12-cent residual every couple of months from being over in Europe.
From the feature, though.
The feature? No, I think we still get $50.
$50.
$50.
Oh,
$50 bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Coming in every day, that's not so bad.
No. It was truly an amazing experience, one that lives with you for the rest of your life.
It's nice for you all to get back together again.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I see this wild guy. We ride iron. He rides horses. I ride an iron horse. So.
Do you all stay in touch with each other during the downtime?
Yeah, I had a 60th surprise from my partner, Catherine.
Yeah, I went to his birthday.
Yeah. Went to my birthday. They all kind of went, "Oh, cool."
Well, you've grown old. And so, I don't mean it like that.
Thank you, sir.
You know, the movie has aged gracefully, as have you.
Oh, now you're just trying to butter us up, pin back our ears.
I want to thank you both for being here, and we're going to get together with the whole group for a nice photo
Thank you.
opportunity. Thank you for
Pleasure.
coming.
Thank you.
Really.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Steve.
Thanks, everybody.
Every May, we try to honor Duke because it's his birth month. It's amazing that he's still at the top of most polls of the most popular and biggest movie star in the world. When you guys worked with him, could you feel that energy? Could you feel that presence?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, beginning with his physical presence. I mean, he was 6'5", I don't know, 270. Yeah. I mean, he was really a big guy. And I remember the first time we met him, we'd been on location for 2, 3, 4 days, something like that. And the director said, "Okay, boys, it's time to meet the Duke." So we all go outside of the bunkhouse to meet him. And we're in a line, like a bunch of school kids. And I had this attitude because I'd been living with my brother David, you know, the guy on the cover of People magazine that did 500 acid trips, kind of the opposite of Duke. But the closer I got, you know, the larger he got, you know, till I'm standing in front of the guy and I'm looking up at him. And I went to say, "How do you do, Mr. Wayne?" And I couldn't find my voice. So, yeah, his presence was
was palpable.
Yeah. Well, he was my dad. My dad had two favorite actors, Cantinflas and Duke. Cantinflas. That's a funny guy.
Oh, yeah.
He was, speedy. But so we go to the drive-in to see all those movies. Sometimes we see double features of Duke and Maureen, they'd be like, holding forth. And of course, my parents got wise to us always falling asleep or pretending to fall asleep as we go home. So they started making us wear our pajamas to the drive-in. So now, you have to go into the snack bar, at the intermission and thinking, I hope nobody from school sees me in my pajamas.
Oh, that's funny.
But I'm a little kid in my pajamas looking at these movies, and then, there he is in the flesh, and it's like hard not to feel like that little kid.
How excited were your parents when they found out you were going to be in this movie?
They were pretty excited. My dad was pretty, this was like, a time when my father and I were not seeing eye to eye. And the fact that I got cast in that movie, even though I was the third choice, I didn't tell him that.
Who were the other two?
I don't know, but one couldn't cut it on the horse. And then and my agent says, it's still alive. And I'm thinking, they'll call me. No, they called another kid. And that kid got thrown in jail, like shortly after getting cast. So they came to me by default.
Good luck again.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But yeah, so
thank the LAPD.
There you go. And I didn't put them up to it. But the fact that I got to be in John Wayne movie was a big deal to my dad.
Were they with you when they saw it? For the first time?
No, we saw it for the first time in Hollywood. You and me kind of snuck in at the premiere.
On Hollywood Boulevard,
Boulevard.
We snuck in?
We met the Jacksons.
Let you in?
Well, Bobby and I were like little countercultural in terms of, taking all this pomp. We were playing a little sideways with it. I remember Zsa Zsa Gabor. She had handprints on her dress like that. And I remember her kind of looking askance and going, something up with you. I don't know. You're not taking this seriously. Yeah, we saw it together in Hollywood the first time. Yeah.
Yeah, they shut down Hollywood Boulevard. I think it was El Capitan. And the red carpet, the whole deal.
Yeah, it was cool.
What a thrill, though. What is it about him that you think makes him still so popular?
Well, father, the sense of father, that patriarchal energy, that.
Also the solidness. You just get the feeling there's no wiggle room with that guy. Like, if he says he's got your back, he's got your back. Kind of feeling,
Yeah. Yeah, I remember he'd already been dinged up a little bit. He'd already had his bout with cancer the first time. He'd lost a lung to it, I think, at that point.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, and he was still, you just look at the guy and, it's not easy making a movie like that. That's hard work. And he was the icon.
Well, you mentioned that a couple of the guys who wanted to play Cimarron, one couldn't ride. Where did you learn to ride?
Red Burns.
Red Burns.
Now, who's Red Burns?
Booth Stables, Burbank.
Yeah. He was our riding instructor. And I'll never forget this. He had a cigar in his mouth. And several times I asked him if he wanted a light. He go, no, that's okay. No, thanks. But the cigar kept getting shorter. Well, this guy was so into chewing tobacco, he had to eat cigars.
And swallowed it?
No, he spit it out like any proper tobacco chewer.
Mm-hmm. This is the dude who taught, the story goes, taught Gary Cooper and Clark Gable. I mean, he was.
Gary Cooper grew up on a ranch. He knew how to ride.
Really? So there's in this story another story dashed.
Another Hollywood legend gone.
Another gone. But he was a go-to guy for the studios, and he was at the end of his career.
Yeah, I remember one time. He got on me because I had bounced or something in the saddle, and he's, got on me about it. I said, I didn't bounce. He said, well, let me tell you something, son. I'm one of the few people that has perfect eyesight. You bounced. Okay.
This is the liar, who taught Gary Cooper how to ride.
Yeah. That could be me conflating the stories over the years. But I know Gable. Gable was a guy.
So on the Cowboys, with all of these other junior rodeo champions riding and roping and stuff, did you all pick up anything from them? Did they teach you? Did they share their knowledge about horsebacking? No. Not at all.
No, they were, we were a bunch of sissy actors as far as those guys were concerned. And we had to, we did our 2.5 months with Red Burns, and by the time we showed up on location, we sat a horse as good as any of them.
Mm-hmm. We did look good on that horse. That's really true. Yeah, but they were good. One thing I learned from Clay O'Brien, who played the little kid, the guy they had to take the books out of the
right and stack up
make
to
him
be tall enough.
So, yeah,
that's Clay O'Brien.
Clay O'Brien, the great Clay O'Brien,
who's
the
a
rodeo
champion
right.
for real.
Bobby and me did the television series of the thing afterwards with the ill-fated Cowboys TV show that went up against Sonny and Cher when they split up and still were going on the air every week, and their ratings doubled.
Yeah, right.
But we shot out in Simi, but there was an airport nearby, so you're shooting a western and there's an airport, so that's not a good combination. So we had to dub a lot of that stuff. And Clay O'Brien would go in and out, just boom, boom, boom. And, I'm like trying to fit it into my mouth. I'm having a hard time. I thought, how is this little rodeo kid kicking all of our asses on this?
I'm dubbing.
But what he did was he basically just said every line in a perfect cadence. He just basically had this thing he did, right? It was his signature. He just said every line perfectly clearly in a perfectly smoothed over rhythm. So it was easy for him. Yeah. Anyway, I'm still bitter about it, but
a little bitter.
Well, and the half-hour TV series, the spinoff, it's a shame that it didn't last, and it's only a half an hour, which is a tough sell anyway.
Well, how are you going to shoot a Western in 22 minutes?
Well, they did it with the Rifleman. And Half Gun Will Travel and Gunsmoke.
Yeah, but Rifleman, there was 2 guys.
Yeah, and you have like 12 kids.
Yeah, we had a lot of kids. And
Yeah, a lot going on in those shows.
Yeah.
And besides, like A said, Sonny and Cher.
Come on.
They were killing you. They were killing you.
Give us a break.
The different cast, you had Jim Davis.
Yeah.
He was a good hand.
Yeah.
And this is before he was a big star, that Dallas made him the big star.
Right.
And Moses Gunn played Nightlinger.
Yeah.
And a few of the kids.
And you had different guest stars. I think DeForest Kelley might have been in one of those.
Yeah.
One thing that was great about that series was they showed A and I how to use a bullwhip.
Oh, that's right.
And that was really great because I wanted using a bullwhip in the Circus of the Stars because they had me in there as a standby act in case somebody, fell off the elephant.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So I had to cut a cigarette out of Jamie Lee Curtis's mouth.
And you did.
I did it.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, that takes a lot of nerve on her part.
And my part.
And yours, yeah.
I could have ended her career.
I know. You could have taken an ear right off there.
Or the end of her nose.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that gig.
Yeah. And they didn't use it. She's the only one that was actually in danger. They had the knife thrower with the, Anyway, I digress.
He did a couple of episodes of Kung Fu. In fact, he did the very last episode where Tim McIntyre plays Kwai Chang Cain's brother, and they finally find him. Your brother wanders off into the sunset at the end of the show.
I couldn't believe I got to do that, and I'd actually.
So cool that you did that.
I mean, come on, David was like a legend to us, and it was also shot on Warner's on the lot there. I mean, we were shooting the Cowboys. That one of the best things about it to go back there to do the series is we got to be on that lot, right?
Yeah.
There's Will Gear out there at Walton's Ranch,
right,
at lunchtime, holding forth on the on the front porch. Just to have the run of that place, that was like summer camp.
It was really great. I mean, I remember going to the commissary one day, and Duke was in there, holding forth with his buddies. I'm thinking, do I want to say hi to him? Oh, what the hell? I go, hi, Mr. Wayne, how you doing? He goes, Carradine. I go, yeah. He says, carry on, lad.
That'll do.
Yeah, it was really funny.
Yeah, it was great. We were really lucky to be able to go and be doing that stuff.
Now, so on the Warner Brothers lot, what else was going on besides the Waltons and a lot of people?
Well, David's show,
Yeah, Kung Fu is there.
and I had done an episode earlier in that first season, which you would think would disqualify you. It's a miracle. I played a character named Slade.
With John Vernon, who's also in the last episode, and you guys are both different characters.
Right. I mean, how does that happen?
I don't know.
If you do that with Law and Order, if you're on a Law and Order, you'll never be on it again.
That's the end of your Law and Order career.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
And he was great in a Law and Order. Did you see him as a chess champion
Oh, no.
who has mental issues?
Mental issues, yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's really
Criminally
awesome.
mental issues?
I'm not sure what my mental issues were. I just had them.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's a chess thing.
Yeah.
But it
all
was
up in your
good.
head, you know.
Good stuff, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good times. And I don't know, over the years, we became friends. And at one point in time, I had this band, and David was going to get rid of a bunch of his equipment. And because of, the connection we made, weren't you living with him when we started doing the Cowboys? And so the family asked me to be Bobby's guardian.
Yeah.
I was his
How
guardian.
was that? How'd that work
they
out?
didn't
You can
want-
imagine.
They didn't want to be on location, for 12 weeks. So they put A up to it. And A kind of wanted his own room.
And you guys had not met before the film.
No.
Well, just when we were training on
Yeah,
the horses.
yeah.
But I think there was some kind of a beer thing that happened. And that's when you got your own room.
Was that it? Yeah, there was a little bit of, it was a difficult situation.
How was
Yeah,
that
he was
responsibility
my
for you?
guardian, man.
I'm not sure I was a great guardian. I might not have been the best, but
I thought you did just fine.
thank you.
Yeah, you got your own room, so.
He just had to get me drunk and sick
Yeah, I
to
think
pull that off.
I'm not sure if that maybe was you getting me drunk and sick, but who, at this point in time, who can remember?
So all the other young cowboys, the actors who were with you guys, were they all bunking together?
I don't know, were they two up?
I think we probably had two up back in the day.
Or were they
I'm not sure.
with their parents in the room?
Oh, yeah. A lot of them had their parents around.
Right, because they had to have their guardians on set.
Yeah.
Poor kids.
And they had to go to school too, probably.
Yeah.
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 Was it shot in the summer though?
April, May, June-ish?
Yeah, because I remember looking at the trees across the gorge in Durango, and there were three distinct shades of green that were like literally vibrating. They were so fresh.
Oh, that sounds like June.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Pagosa Springs too, you all
Yeah,
shot there
yes.
too. That is a gorgeous part of the state.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. So beautiful.
The affinity with Westerns, this was your first film. This was one of your early films. It was a massive hit. John Wayne, the reviews were great, and they just keep getting better.
Yeah.
And the film's 50th anniversary is this year. It's hard to believe that it's been 50 years since that film. 1972 really was a good year for Westerns. Culpeper Cattle Company was that year also. And that's the year of the rodeo movies, which was Junior Bonner, The Honkers that Steve Einat directed with Jimmy Coburn. That was a solid year for Westerns, but then it seemed like there was a dearth of good Westerns after that. I think this is...
Well, I think because, they're expensive to make and they weren't bringing back a great return. It was the era that we were in. I think the movie going public, they weren't into Westerns as much as they used to be.
I think now, with Taylor Sheridan in 1883, there is a younger audience watching Yellowstone and 1883, and I'm shocked at how many new Westerns that I'm seeing. Most of them aren't very good because people don't know how to make them.
Well,
Rydell sure knew how to make them, and the Cowboys. I mean, he really did. Not just good performances, he knew where to set the camera. And
Well, also, a lot of these directors that you come up against these days, they say they're a director, but have they really done their homework? And Mark, on the Cowboys, there's a scene where I'm supposed to be playing the guitar, and he knew that he wanted to use the music from Vivaldi Concerto in D minor. He said, "Hey, come here, can you play this?"
Oh, man.
And he hummed it to me. So I figured out what he was humming, and that's what I'm playing in the scene. And there's a dissolve, and the camera pulls back, and the orchestra swells in, and we're herding these cattle up this really steep embankment, and it looks rough and hard and difficult. And it's just, I get chills thinking about it.
I get chills thinking about it every time.
The fact that he knew that's what he was going to do, it blows me away.
And John Williams did the score.
Oh, yeah.
It's beautiful.
And Bob Surtees shot it. I mean, it was so, the quality of it.
Yeah,
was-
we had the good gang.
We had the
Wasn't
good
that
gang.
Lester Bayless on the wardrobe?
I believe
Lester,
so.
because Duke, he did everything with Duke. After an earlier film, John Wayne always wanted Lester Bayless there.
I think we had one of the Westmores for makeup.
There you go. And now,
How about Bruce's makeup with his nose all smashed
Oh,
up?
man. That was incredible.
it was incredible. Yeah, they made him into a monster. Did you? So you just basically had your guitar on the set, and he became
No.
aware of that you were doing that, or
No, the guitar was on the set as a prop.
as a prop?
And somehow it came out that I play guitar.
So he just,
And then he said, can you play this? It just,
because I mean, literally, that is one of the moments where the movie goes, okay, we're here, we're serious here. You know, I mean, that lifts it. I thought about it this morning actually before I came, and I got goosebumps just thinking about it.
Yeah.
And every time you see the movie, you get that moment, and you go, oh yeah, it just opens it up to like a level that's
yeah, these guys are really doing it.
yeah. It transcended.
It is a beautiful film, but when it came out, even though it was very popular, a lot of the critics condemned it because of the violence with these young kids.
Well, now I have a solution to that. If they'd have left the scene with the whores the way it was written, which is that we all got laid, then we would have been men when we killed all the bad guys.
So you shot that scene, or that was never shot?
Did we shoot it both ways?
I can't remember. Like I have like a block about. I think we might
About
have.
that
Yeah. No, I just think among the lessons, because that was going to school, watching Dern work.
Right.
It was like going to school. But I think about Colleen Dewhurst.
Ah.
And I think, okay, what was about that? And of course, the thing that comes to mind when I think about it now is the time she took.
Yes.
Like I was, I want to get this and this, and and when you watch her speak, she takes her time. She's regal, and she's pulling up her skirt to kind of remind you what she's about.
Yeah.
But she's just
Oh, man.
so unbelievably compelling, so like royalty.
Yeah.
And then when at the end, when Roscoe comes and she reaches out to him and he goes, I got the inclination and the wherewithal, but unfortunately I haven't the time. And just the time they took between the two of them. And I'm thinking, this is Rydell when he's imagining this movie. He's going, yeah, and I can't have her doing this and him doing that. And think what that would be like.
Yeah.
And the rhythm that they each had in that scene. Roscoe's rhythm was so special. Talk about great pauses.
Yeah.
He did the camera. He worked the camera. Your brother always worked the camera. I remember on a Tonight Show when Kung Fu was just so big and happening, and he was a guest and he was going to sing. He sat on a stool and he's just singing and playing his guitar and singing, and the cameras are there. And then there's a camera that comes in on him tight like this, and he just looks up into the camera and smiles. And it was like, whoa!
You talking about David?
This is like sparks were coming out of the TV screen. David,
Yeah. And I remember when Keith at the Oscars, that's me and my guitar.
Yeah.
It's like, and this dude. And
Oh,
all
and
these
he's
movies.
back up on a lot of records now, too, where they're stealing your riffs, right?
They're not stealing them. They're
Borrowing or
using them without my permission.
Ooh, oops.
But I take that as a compliment.
There you go.
Yeah.
John Wayne, let's get back to Duke for just a minute.
I thought he was amazing in the Cowboys. And I remember when we had to shoot the scene where he was dying, He's on the ground and Bruce Dern has left him there all shut to hell. And we're around him, and he's like, he's kind of instructing, telling us, that we're better than, he said all those things that a father would say. And I mean,
That was tearjerker.
I was last in the close-ups, and by the time they got around me, I've been crying so much I was cried out. I was literally reaching down to the ground and grabbing grass and rubbing it in my eyes to try to bring the tears back. He blew my mind. just the way he was croaking that stuff to us.
Yeah, no, he was. That was an
It's so
amazing
rare for him
sequence.
to die in a movie, too, but the way he died in this with Bruce, what was going through your mind when Bruce was beating him up and shooting him in the back?
Well, you know, it was stunning to watch that.
Yeah, I mean, we were deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had all those explosives wired, so you watch the bullets hit him and stuff. And just the brutality of that scene.
That's what the critics had against it, is the brutality for a film about young kids.
Right. And I think the critics also, I recall this when we saw it there in Hollywood that day. They had brought a bunch of kids in from some schools or something. There was a lot of kids in the audience. And when came time for Bruce to get his comeuppance, these kids were up with their fists in the air. There was bloodlust in the room. And these are kids.
Yeah.
Well, you work up to that.
You work up to it. The movie works. And of course, you know, I think a lot of people went, what? Wait, what? These little kids are like getting all steamed up here, you know?
And that cool theme that John Williams did for Bruce Dern, that sort of, whoa, it's just like, whoa, this is a scary dude.
You know the sequence where Bruce Dern grabs that one kid and drags him into the river?
Oh, drowns him almost?
Well, he just sticks his head under the water and pulls him up. You gotta do it now, huh? That was not scripted.
Right.
I think, as I recall, Bruce warned the cameraman that he was going to do that, but he didn't tell Mark. And of course, he didn't tell Nick Beauvy. He just did it.
Just did it.
And that's why that sequence has so much like
Oh, yeah.
presence in it, because the kid was freaked out.
Yeah.
Well, how many times did they shoot it? Because we were talking earlier about how each take, Bruce came back with something else added to the scene.
Well,
he only did that one time, I would hope, with the kid.
Well, because they didn't want to do a wardrobe change. So I think it was a wonder. They might have had 2 cameras on it.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, and I think he drug that knife across his throat without telling him too.
Yeah.
And Nick Beauvy is a wonderful actor, but you know, this is sort of like Bruce's stance. You know, we're going to make this real because that's what people want to see.
Yeah, exactly.
We are honoring one of the great Westerns of all time, made in 1972, it's called The Cowboys. And I've got 2 of those cowboys here with me right now. I have Steve Hudis and Al Barker right here. You may not recognize them, but they were great in that movie. It still gets better all the time. And I thank you guys for coming out here to visit with us and to share stories of working with John Wayne. Al, how did you get cast in that?
Well, the story that I'm told by my father is we had friends in the rodeo business and junior rodeo, and they were looking for a hefty kid who could ride and rope. And so one of our friends got a hold of or gave them our information, and one day I'm riding this goofy colt that we were working in our pasture, and my dad leaves the house, goes to the house to take a phone call. He comes out and he says, "Hey, how'd you like to be in the movie with John Wayne?" I like, "Yeah, right, whatever." What kid wouldn't? He says, "No, I'm serious. They want you to come and do an audition." Well, yeah, of course. You get me there and I'll be happy to do that. It'd be wonderful.
How old
And
were you then?
I was 14, or about 14. This maybe give or take a few days.
Well, you have that great scene with Duke after each of you are given the test to see if you could stay on the horse, and you tell him your name, and he goes, "I got a tendency toward that myself." I always remembered that. A great scene. All of you each had special moments. Steve, how did you get cast?
Well, it was an interesting process they used because about half the cast was experienced working actors and the other half were from the cowboy world. And I think director Mark Rydell's idea was brilliant because we both kind of fed off each other, learned from each other, and the 2 culture backgrounds just seemed to work. So I was already fairly well established working regularly, so I just went through the regular audition process, ho-hum, you know. But it was a very big cattle call at first, and then less and less, and it was very nerve-wracking rattling because we were, I mean, John Wayne, I mean, it was just unbelievable.
So all the people in the cattle call, the groups, as you were auditioning, did you recognize some of the other child actors?
Yeah, I'm sure I did. I mean, I couldn't say now who was there, but pretty much anybody who was working in those days was probably there.
As it whittled down to the smaller group,
Yeah.
when did Mark Rydell come in to talk to you?
Yeah, so the first couple of auditions were probably with Lynn Stallmaster. I
What a
believe,
great casting
legendary.
director. Wow.
So, and I'd known him, and he knew me and stuff. So I think probably the second or third callback was when it really got serious with Mark. And yeah, it just one day you get the call, and next thing you're on a plane. You know.
What had you done before?
I'd done a lot of TV. In fact, this was my only feature film. But I'd done things like Medical Center. I did a Medical Center with.
Didn't you do a show with Steven Spielberg directing?
I did. Back before he was Steven Spielberg.
He was just Stevie,
He was
little
just-
Stevie?
Yeah, he was directing some TV at Universal. And
The
I was lucky
psychiatrist
to-
with Roy-
Wow, yes,
Roy
very good,
Finnis.
the psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And I played the lead character. Somebody wrote in, I was a disturbed kid. I had mental issues, you know. Typecast. But actually, somebody had written in saying, wow, it was amazing you hired a really mentally disturbed kid. So I fit right in. But, you know, Adam 12, all of that stuff. It was great. I had a nice run, you know. And it's over.
So what was Steven like then?
Yeah, Stephen. You know, he was a genius, obviously, and he
He was almost your age, wasn't he?
He was only a little older. Yeah, about 8 years, 21, 22. But everybody, you could just tell he had that something about him. He called me a thinking actor in an interview once, which was, I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, I was pretty lucky to work with the people I got to work with.
When you first met Duke, what was that like?
It's amazing. Nick and I were there. We were kind of like getting up the nerve, you know, to go to talk to him. And you mentioned his humility. I mean, it is just paramount. We got up the nerve to introduce ourselves, and we walk up and we go, "Hi, I'm Steve," and he goes, "Hello, I'm John Wayne," you know, as if he needed to introduce himself. He was so gracious, you know. It was mind blowing. The whole just this larger than life man, and we were just so lucky.
Well, Al, on set, were you helping out the non-writers?
I'll tell you what, it was a pretty interesting experience because not a sawhorse was safe back at the hotel there in Santa Fe. We raided the construction yard and stole every sawhorse they had for roping dummies. And all these guys would come out, and Clay O'Brien was out there, Norman Hal Weedy, Mike Pyatt, myself. We're all out there yahooing and roping the dummies and carrying on, and these guys all got involved, and we were handing them ropes, and here, this is how you do this.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, the whole bunch of us is coming back to the hotel after the day on the set, and we're having roping jackpots on these roping dummies. You know, 10, 15, 20 cents, you know, roping jackpots, roping these dummies, head them, heel them, and then they started making those plastic heads that you can put on these sawhorses. And there was a tackle store, or a tack store. I said tackle because I'm a fisherman, but a tack store not far away that we were able to pick up some of those, and that's all we did. Besides owning the pool
Yeah.
and owning the whole grass area and driving the maintenance people crazy, I mean, we owned the hotel when we were there. And all these guys, we commingled so well and had such good relationships. Guys stayed together, bunked together.
How did they pick who bunked with who?
I do not know. I have no idea.
Well,
Yeah, they put
they
us
assigned
together.
you. You didn't get to
We
pick.
were together for a bit, and then we were each with somebody else for a bit, and I don't know how that was determined. It was a kick in the pants, though, I tell you.
Well, out on location, and you're working with these really fine adult actors. Roscoe Lee Brown, just incredible.
Colleen Dewhurst, Slim
Yeah.
Pickens.
And Slim's in the schoolhouse, too.
Yeah.
You know? So,
Amazing. Yeah, Roscoe was something else. He was, yeah, well, they all were, but it was.
well, how did Roscoe interact with you kids? Paternally, like he did in the movie?
In a way, yeah. I mean, he was definitely a mysterious, character to all of us, and he was this wonderfully trained Shakespearean actor. I remember a lot of time at lunch, Bobby would get on the guitar, and he would do Roscoe would do some Shakespearean sonnets, and It's just captivating.
Wow.
You know, he was such an
How
interesting
great.
man. And he came to see me years later at a theater I was doing some work at, and we kept in touch. And he was an amazing
What
man.
wonderful
Great
memories. But then the movie gets dark with Bruce Dern and that sequence where Bruce brutalizes him, shoots him in the back. And what was that like?
It's tough.
John Wayne told Bruce Dern before this scene, "You're going to be the most hated man in Hollywood." Bruce was a unique character. We would be riding the bus up the mountain to go to the set, and Bruce would be running.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Bruce was a physical
ran-
fitness.
At that
nut.
altitude.
At that
15, 20
altitude.
miles a day, show up to the set. He had a brilliant response to when Duke said, "You're going to be hated around the world." He said, "Yeah, but in Berkeley, I'm going to be a hero."
They loved him there.
You know, but people, I mean, they say, "Oh, Bruce Dern killed you." You know, his character killed John
Yeah.
Wayne, but he was intense. He was an intense actor. And watching that scene, I think we all were it was disturbing, you know, even though it was fake. And then the scene with Nick, he'll talk about that later,
Yeah.
I'm sure, but that was something.
Well, the scene when Duke was telling us, you know, summer's over. You know, a man always wants his sons to be better than he was.
Yeah.
You are.
You are. That was heart-wrenching. That was so real and so heart-wrenching. I mean, the tears, they didn't have to put drops in my eyes.
Yeah.
My tears flowed like water.
He only died in 4 of his films, right, Patrick? I think it was 4, maybe 5. Sands of Iwo Jima, Alamo, the Cowboys, and the Shooters, I believe.
The script, it just is so amazing because it starts off, it's kind of fun. You know, the drovers quit to go look for gold, and he's got to go to the schoolhouse and find these kids. And then it's just a lot of laughs as they're training and riding, as they learn to be cowboys.
There was so much reality in it, and I've been asked a million times, what was John Wayne like? And I said, he was the most significant father figure a person could be around. John Wayne was a father figure. He was a man you would look up to as an icon. You would love him as your father. And you just, I don't know, there's an enormous respect and love that I have for him and always will always have. And that will never go away.
The film was shot mostly in sequence, which was also clever because it allowed everybody's relationship to come to fruition. You know, at first he was aloof and they're kids and everything, you know, and then he warmed to us and we to him and to each other. And it showed on the screen, I think.
Did you all play pranks during the film?
I don't know about that so much.
You were just kids. You were kids. It was okay.
Well, we was talking to a couple of the guys earlier, and when we stayed in Pagosa Springs, these were really nice little cabin-like motels with kitchenettes and everything in them, and they were owned by the mayor, and the mayor had to enact legislation because of us.
What?
Well, it was near 4th of July. Fireworks were prevalent, and there was a young man that sold them to us there in town. Well, we had some bottle rocket fights, and some bottle rocket activities, and the mayor decided that that was really not a good idea around his older wooden shingle roof hotels. So he created legislation and outlawed the sale of fireworks in Pagosa Springs. So some of us, I won't say who, but some of us got in the pickup truck with this guy, went to the outskirts of town, bought the fireworks, brought them back in, and continued our ill-mannered behavior.
And did the mayor come down on you hard after that?
Lifetime ban.
Oh.
No.
You know, I don't know, but we never really got in much of any trouble. I mean, we own. There were so many of us.
Yeah.
Pagosa Springs is a small town. You know, it's like one street, one restaurant, a hardware store, a little grocery store, and when you have us, our chaperones,
And the stunt doubles. There were also 11 stunt doubles who were also
the
kids.
crews,
So
the stunt men in general, everybody that was there.
crazy.
Well, you
Crazy
mentioned
times.
your chaperones. Was that your parents or was that somebody else?
All our moms played our moms in the film.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
My stepmom
They-
was there. Who played?
Taft-Hartley them.
That's nice. Wow.
Yeah, so their parents were...
It's like watching a home movie for you guys,
Yeah,
isn't
it was cool.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. To this day, she still gets a little residual shake.
Well, Steve, I see that you were not just popular from the Cowboys and some of your other films, but you were on the cover of Teen Beat and 16.
Yeah.
Got a lot of fan mail from those little teenage girls.
Little teen heartthrob going on there.
So
yeah.
what was that like?
You know, it's surreal, really. You know, I mean, when you're that young to have that much... I'm sorry, am I interrupting? You all talk amongst yourselves. To have that much thrown at you at a young age, it's a little daunting, you know, but it just all happens so quickly, and you just kind of roll with it, you know, but it's definitely has... It has an effect on you, and not all good, you know, a bit of a brat attitude. And
Did you learn much from the soiled doves in the movie?
the soiled doves. Yeah, so Charlie was already, you know, he died by then. So I would have liked to, but unfortunately, no. But it was quite a ride, 5 or 6 years.
In that stampede where your character dies, how much of that did you do, and how much was your stuntman?
Very good question, yeah. So we'd all had weeks and weeks of riding training before any of the cameras rolled, long time, which was smart for obvious reasons, because I hadn't really ridden before, and some of the others had and some hadn't, and these guys were experts. So they had acting lessons and we had riding lessons. So the short answer is I learned how to, there was a horse that would rear up, and that was what he did. So we went out, the second unit with Buzz Henry, and close up, and I just had to ride it out while he reared up and kind of start to roll back. And I had 2 guys there to catch me. And then Dan Summerford, my stunt double, God rest his soul, unfortunately, did the full fall off the back into the...
And you got into doing some stunt work, too, after...
I did, yeah. I was always, when I was doing Mod Squad and other shows like that, I was always looking at the stunt people. I thought, that's cool, you know, that's cool. So, yeah, I kind of drifted into that side of it and had a very good career doing that for 30 years or so. I had a world record bus jump.
Well, that was the school bus that was on fire jumping
Burning
over
school bus,
motorcycles, right?
Yes, it was an Evel Knievel flip.
Yeah.
School kids were late that day, but they had a good time. So retired from that, and now I just do what I do, you know.
Thank you both for joining us
Thank you
today.
for having
And
us.
a lot of us wanted to be there with you, and to see you together, all you guys, is a thrill. And I love watching that movie, and the score, the cinematography,
Williams.
everything works on that. And they don't make movies like that anymore. It's all superhero stuff.
Yeah,
and
right.
you know, Duke was a superhero to me.
Yep.
Thank you for being here.
Thank
I'd like
you.
to give one quick shout
sure.
out, if I could. We've been doing a thing, if you remember the cattle drive. The cattle drive was supposed to have ended in Belfouche, South Dakota.
Oh, right.
The northern cattle drives would be on railheads going out of Belfouche, South Dakota. And I have a friend back there that orchestrated all of us, and I think all of us that are here have been there a couple of times. I was involved with it for about 8 years. The people of Belfouche love the movie. So let me give a shout out to Stacy and Greg at the American Inn and the Businessmen's Association that promote this for us.
Thank you both for joining us to celebrate the 50th anniversary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When I knew this event was coming, I wanted to commemorate it somehow, and I wanted to pay tribute to my fellow actors and, of course, John Wayne, and just the whole experience itself. So I wrote it Friday. Please forgive me. I've got my notes here. But the melody, interestingly enough, I heard this artist playing earlier, Marty Robbins. I'm sure you're familiar with him. I borrowed a little melody from one of his greatest songs, Big Iron. So I hope you enjoy it. It's a bit of a parody, it's a bit of a tribute, and it's heartfelt. So here we go. 40 years in the business, I still get stage fright. So. Early morning, April 1st in 1971. 11 lucky boys, an adventure just begun. We'd learn how to ride horses, and we'd learn how to shoot guns. But never in our wildest dreams thought we'd have so much fun. We'd all have so much fun. Alan, Mike, Shawnee, and me flew off to Santa Fe with Bobby Norman, Nick and Steve, and brothers Sam and Clay. We couldn't wait to meet the man, the legend John Wayne the Dude. He was everything we thought he'd be, that no one could rebuke. We were working with the dude. The first day on the set, we were as nervous as could be. But the great John Wayne was welcoming, yeah, he put us all at ease. He was gracious, kind, and humble, no, none of that big star noise. He was like a father to 11 lucky boys, 11 lucky boys. He was there to comfort me when I fell off my horse. On screen he read my eulogy when Charlie's trail changed course. And when it was all over, we were like a family. And I want the other guys to know how much you mean to me. You all mean so much to me. The last time I laid eyes upon the master of the trail, I saw him at the Oscars. God, he looked so thin and frail. I couldn't stand to see him that way, not the man I knew. When he died, an era passed, old Hollywood was through, gone for me and you. The cowboys are all old men now, pensions and Medicare. Some of us have lost some, gained some weight, and some have lost their hair. But no matter what the years may bring us, laughter, tears, and joy, those memories will live forever for 11 lucky boys. And I'm so glad I was one of 11 lucky boys. I was a very lucky boy.